Culture and society defined. Culture consists of the beliefs, behaviors, objects, and other characteristics common to the members of a particular group or society. Through culture, people and groups define themselves, conform to society's shared values, and contribute to society. Thus, culture includes many societal aspects, such as language, customs, values, norms, mores, rules, tools, technologies, products, organizations, and institutions. This latter term, institution, refers to clusters of rules and cultural rules and cultural meanings associated with specific social activities. Common institutions are the family, education, religion, work, and healthcare. Popular speaking, being cultured, means being well educated, knowledgeable of the arts, stylish, and well-mannered. High culture, generally pursued by the upper class, refers to classical music, theater, fine arts, and other sophisticated pursuits. Members of the upper class can pursue high arts because they have cultural capital, which means the professional credentials, education.
I'm sorry, do you mind me stopping? Will you read the first part of that sentence?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Members of the upper class can pursue high art because they have cultural capital, which means the professional credentials, education, knowledge, and verbal and social skills necessary to attain the property, power, and prestige to get ahead socially. Lower culture, or popular culture, generally pursued by the working and middle class, refers to sports, movies, television sitcoms, and soaps, and rock music. Remember that sociologists define culture differently than they do cultured, high culture, low culture, and popular culture. Sociologists define society as the people who interact in such a way to share a common culture. The cultural bond may be ethnic or racial, based on gender, or due to shared beliefs, values, and activities. The term society can also have a geographic meaning and refer to people who share a common culture in a particular location. For example, people living in Arctic climates develop different cultures from those living in desert cultures. In time, a large variety of human cultures arose around the world. Culture and society are intrinsically related. A culture consists of the objects of a society, whereas a society consists of the people who share a common culture. When the term culture and society first acquired their current meanings, most people in the world worked and lived in small groups in the same location. In today's world of 6 billion people, these terms have lost some of their usefulness because increasing numbers of people interact and share resources globally. Still, people tend to use culture and society in a more traditional sense. For example, being part of a racial culture within the larger U.S. society. I cannot read today. Culture's roots, biological or social. The nature versus nurture debate continues to rage in the social sciences. When applied to human culture, proponents of the nature side of the debate maintain that human genetics create cultural forms common to people everywhere. Genetic mutations and anomalies then arise to the behavioral and cultural differences encountered across and among human groups. These differences potentially include language, food, and clothing preferences, and sexual attitudes, to name just a few. Proponents of the nurture side of the debate maintain that humans are a tabula rasa, which is French for blank slate, upon which everything is learned, including cultural norms. This fundamental debate has given social scientists and others insights into human nature and culture, but no solid conclusions. More recently, social learning theorists and social biologists have added their expertise and opinions to the debate. Social learning theorists hold that humans learn social behaviors within social contexts. That is, behavior is not genetically driven, but socially learned. On the other hand, sociobiologists argue that because specific behaviors like aggression are common among all human groups, a natural selection must exist for these behaviors similar to that for bodily traits like height. Social biologists also hold that people whose selected behaviors lead to successful social adaptation more likely reproduce and survive. One generation can genetically...
I'm sorry, will you read that sentence one more time?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Social biologists also hold that people whose selected behaviors lead to successful social adaptations more likely reproduce and survive. One generation can genetically transmit successful behavioral characteristics to the next generation. Today, Sociologists generally endorse social learning theories to explain the emergence of culture. That is, they believe that specific behaviors result from social factors that activate psychological predispositions rather than from heredity or instincts, which are biologically fixed patterns of behavior.
Would you read that one more time?
Yes. Social scientists believe that specific behaviors result from social factors that activate psychological predispositions rather than from hereditary, can't pronounce this word, rather than from instincts, which are biologically fixed patterns of behavior. Because humans are social beings, they learn that behaviors such as beliefs, attitudes, preferences, and the things they like within a particular culture. Sociologists find evidence for this social learning position when studying cultural universals, or features common to all cultures. Although most, excuse me, although most societies do share some common elements, sociologists have failed to identify a universal human nature that should theoretically produce identical cultures everywhere. Among universal human nature that should theoretically produce identical cultures everywhere. Among other things, language, preferences for certain types of food, division of labor, methods of socialization, rules of governance, and a system of religion represent typical cultural features across societies. Yet all these are general rather than specific features of culture. For example, all people consume food of one type or another, but some groups eat insects, while other groups do not. What one culture accepts as normal may vary considerably from what other cultures accept. Material and non-material cultures. Sociologists describe two interrelated aspects of human culture: the physical objects of the culture and the ideas associated with these objects. Material culture refers to the physical objects, resources, and spaces that people use to define their culture. These include homes, neighborhoods, cities, schools, churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, offices, factories and plants, tools, means of production, goods, products, stores, and so forth. All of these physical aspects of a culture help to define its members' behaviors and perceptions. For example, technology is a vital aspect of material culture in today's United States. American students must learn to use computers to survive in college and business. In contrast to young adults in the Yanamano.
Will you spell it for me?
Yanomamo. Yanomamo society in the Amazon, who must learn to build weapons and hunt. Non-material culture refers to the non-physical idea that people have about their culture, including beliefs, values, rules, norms, morals, language, organizations, and institutions. For instance, the non-material culture concept of religion consists of a set of ideas and beliefs about God, worship, morals, and ethics. These beliefs then determine how the culture responds to its religious topics, issues, and events. When considering non-material culture, sociologists refer to several processes that a culture uses to shape its members' thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. 4 of the most important of these are symbols, language, values, and norms. Symbols and language in human culture. To the human mind, symbols are cultural representations of reality. Every culture has its own set of symbols associated with different experiences and perceptions. Thus, as a representation of a symbol's meaning is neither instinctive nor automatic. The culture's members must interpret and, over time, reinterpret the symbol. Symbols occur in different forms: verbal or nonverbal, written or unwritten. They can be anything that conveys a meaning, such as words on the page, drawings, pictures, and gestures. Clothing, homes, cars, and other consumer items are symbols that imply a certain level of social status. Perhaps the most powerful of all human symbols is language, a system of verbal and sometimes written representation that are culturally specific and convey meaning about the world. In the 1930s, Edward Sapir and Benjamin Lee proposed that languages influence perceptions. While this Sapir and Lee hypothesized, also called the linguistic relativity hypothesis, is controversial. It suggests that a person will more likely perceive differences when he or she possesses words or concepts to describe the differences. Language is an important source of identity in a culture. Some groups, such as the French-speaking residents of Quebec in Canada, refuse to speak English, which is Canada's primary language, for fear of losing their cultural identity. In the United States, immigrants provide much resistance to making English the official national language. Cultural values. A culture values are its ideas about what is good, right, fair, and just. Sociologists disagree, however, on how to accept these values. Conflict theory focuses on how values differ between groups within a culture, while I lost my place. Conflict theory focuses on how values differ between groups within a culture.
Can you read that again?
Yes. A culture's values are its ideas about what is good, right, fair, and just. Sociologists disagree, however, on these values. Conflict theory focuses on how values differ between groups within a culture.